Hello everyone, Giltar here with part 2 of my review of the DMK-02 or dual model kit of the Bumblebee Transformers character from the live action movies, and specifically I believe this design is from the Dark of the Moon movie, which is the third part of the Transformers trilogy directed by Michael Bay. Now, as you can see here, the Bumblebee model kit is completed. It has all the armor components attached, which are basically those yellow pieces of armor all over this model. And as you can see, the appearance of Bumblebee is fairly accurate to the design as seen in the movie, which is a really nice touch. However, there are a few issues with parts of the model that are out of proportion, but they're relatively minor for the overall level of accurate likeness that we see here. Now, I'm just going to cut right to the pros and cons and then my final thoughts on this product. As usual, I'll start off with my cons, and at the very top of my list is the high price tag. The manufacturer's suggested retail price for this model kit is 3,800 yen, which amounts to roughly $45 American at current exchange rates. That's a very high price tag for a model kit. It's not unusual in that there are, most model kits these days coming out on the market are going to be running, 3,000 yen and upwards. So we're looking at $35 American and upwards. Why this is a con for me in this case is that we have a high price tag, but the actual quality and design and manufacture of the model kit does not justify that high price tag. Here are a couple of reasons why, and these are other cons. First of all, the joints of the model kit are very loose, at least in mine here, and it's very difficult to get the model to be posed in a way so that it can actually hold its pose for a significant amount of time. If you're not careful, if you don't pose it right to balance it right, the looseness of the joints will cause it to topple over. Another reason why I don't think the high price is justified is just the fact that while the completed model kit looks very nice and it has, again, a good level of likeness and accuracy to the design from the movie, Bumblebee here basically just has 95 or more percent of its parts that are ill-fitting. And but what I mean by that is that the tabs or pegs that you use to attach to the model kit, because this is a snap assembly model kit, 95% of them are basically too large. If you insert them as they are, you basically have to force it in, and if you do it, if you force it into the parts, you're going to have plastic stress, if not plastic breakage, in some parts of the model kit. So I had to sand down. Like, most of my assembly process for this model kit involved sanding down pegs and tabs, which is not my idea of what I should be running into when working on a snap assembly model kit, especially of one that should be of a high caliber like Takara Tomi's offering here. So that's another issue. And then there are some parts, like this one back here, which just can't stay into the side of the foot there. The peg here is just too small. So and it's an odd contradiction, because the level of detail in the sculpt of the model kit itself is very, very sharp and well done. The details of the model look really good. I don't know if you guys can make it out here. I've just got to get this to focus. But basically, just the sculpt is great. I mean, the details that have been molded here are fantastic. Yet at the same time, the molding precision of the pegs and tabs for the model is so poorly done. Is just, I don't understand why one part of the molding is so well done while the other isn't. And frankly, if you're working on a model kit, a snap assembly model kit at that, pretty much the most important part is the tabs and pegs, because those are the parts that allow you to build the model kit, to have things fit together and stay together. If those parts aren't, molded correctly, then you're going to run into what I ran into in this model kit, where it should have been just a few hours to build it, but due to all the sanding and corrections that I had to do, it took several hours. Like, it took probably 6 hours or 7 hours for me to build this model kit from start to finish, and that was stretched over a few days. But granted, most of the time I found myself just sanding things down, and this isn't a resin model kit where you're expected to clean excess flash and get things to fit properly. This is a mass-produced snap assembly model kit by a prominent toy and hobby product manufacturer, which is Takara Tomy. Their production quality is just very poor. So again, it leads back to the high price tag. I really don't think that high price is justified. due to the just poor execution of the manufacturing of this model kit. Um, and those are pretty much the cons. I mean, it's a high price, articulation that is not functional, and just ill-fitting, poorly molded parts, poor precision. Now, with those sort of cons put out to the open for you guys to consider, let me bring forth some pros, some positive points to consider as well. As I mentioned earlier, it has a really good level of likeness. It really does look like the Bumblebee design from the live-action movies. So just the visual appearance as a display piece, it's great. I mean, I really love the look of this model kit. The articulation, despite being, sort of being poorly supported, it actually does have really great articulation potential. As you can see here, it can strike a very, very sort of dynamic pose, which most model kits and many action figures cannot reach. So for a model kit to be able to be posing this way is, in my opinion, a very significant feat. It's something that very few things can achieve. So that definitely is something to consider. And even though, like I said, the precision of the molding for the tabs and pegs is poor, just the level of sculpted detail in the model kit is extremely impressive. All the little touches and little details are there that you would expect to see on like a master grade Gundam model kit, or even perhaps a real grade and some perfect grades from several years past. So the level of visual detail in this model kit is wonderful. So overall, would I recommend this model kit? I would have to say maybe. And what I mean by that is it really depends on what your own background is. If you're a person who is just a straight up model kit enthusiast, yeah, you could go for it because you would have, or you should have, the experience and hands-on sort of know-how to be able to deal with the model kit's issues. You'll be able to deal with poorly fitting parts and looseness of parts. You should be able to sort of adjust and correct things as you go. If you're simply a Transformers fan with mainly, if not only, toy experience, stay away from this because you're going to be in a world of disappointment. Because if this is your first model kit that you're working on, you probably will run into a lot of problems. You may even be able to put together the model kit, without many issues. But like I said, if you just jam pegs and tabs into slots, the plastic will stress. And while the model kit may hold up well for the time being, I can see it, a year or two or more down the road, eventually where parts will start breaking on you because over that period of time, where the slots and peg holes are being stressed constantly by parts that are too big, things will break and eventually things will snap and you'll be like, well, that's great. This model kit I put together a couple of years ago, which seemed fine at the time, is now just sort of crumbling in my hands. And you don't want to have that happen. Especially for these things which are fairly expensive and not that readily available. Both Optimus Prime and Bumblebee initially, I believe, sold out. There was extra quantities of Bumblebees, so most places were able to sell this. But I'm seeing at some stores the Bumblebee model kit here, the DMK-02, is shown as being on back order or being completely sold out at some stores. So yeah, if you're an experienced model kit builder, you shouldn't have any fears with buying this model kit. If you're a fan of Transformers and you're a fan of the movie designs and you have good experience with model kits, definitely go for this if you have any interest in it. Just be aware of problems I mentioned that you will probably be encountering. But again, if you're just a Transformers fan who really only has action figure or toy experience, you could certainly buy this, but you should invest some time in practicing with other model kits to get some solid experience under your belt before tackling this model, because it has quite a few issues that, if you're not careful with, could ruin your experience and sour you on the whole, I guess, dual model kit line as it is right now. So yeah, my recommendation is sort of conditional. It depends on where you're coming from and what kind of experience you either have or don't have. Myself, I'm a big Bumblebee fan. Generation 1 Bumblebee is my all-time favorite Transformers character. Always has been, always will be. I'm a fan of the movie Bumblebee character visual design. I'm not so much a fan of the way that the character is portrayed, but I really do like it. And I have to say I am biased. I do like Bumblebee in many, if not all, of its incarnations. So I had to pick up this model kit. I don't have any regrets of buying this model kit. I do plan on to basically further modify and customize this model to reinforce the joints, and I eventually would like to give it a custom paint job. But for now, I think I can let it sit on my shelf as long as it's posed properly so it won't fall over. And yeah, I like the model for all its flaws and issues and problems. Yeah, it's a decent model, but it's not a great model. It's not a 3,800 yen model kit. I would say it's a 2,000, maybe $2,500 yen model kit, but not a $3,800. So if you can find this on significant sales pricing, like say $30 American or less, definitely consider it. If you can only find it for full price, be sure that you have the experience to be able to cope with the problems, and definitely be sure that you're a Transformers fan who likes this character design, because otherwise it may not be worth the money and frustration you could run into when building it. So that's my review. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and as usual, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you guys at the next video.